Welcome into another episode of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside former Padres center fielder Mike Cameron. Mike, the 2025 season has arrived. The Dodgers and Cubs, played the season opener in Tokyo earlier this morning. The Dodgers won 4-1. Again, we're still in spring training for a lot of clubs, but that first regular season game taking place, it feels like
Yeah.
baseball's finally here. It's an exciting time.
Yeah, it always is an exciting time, Kyle. I got a chance to catch a little bit of it. I'm on it's 3 a.m. I guess obviously we're both in the same time zone.
Yeah.
So I saw a little bit of it, but I couldn't stay up too much longer. Considering I had to turn around and get right back up. So I saw a little bit towards the end, I think. Um and uh it's kind of cool. It's always crazy though when you gotta go play in another country early, and then after that is over with, you turn around and you go back to spring training mode for another week before you kick off again. So it's always a challenge in that aspect. But it was good to see. Obviously, teams taking off, and guys are still really just kind of like in spring training mode. uh, Although it was a regular season game, and we knew that it was going to be big for the Dodgers and the Cubs, considering they have guys that are in um, that are from Japan. So it was very interesting to be able to take part of.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned teams being in spring training mode a little bit. We saw that with the starting pitchers, especially Yoshinobu Yamamoto only going 5 innings, Shota Imanaga only going four, getting the hook. Craig Counsell said 70 pitches would be the max. So guys aren't fully ramped up to, regular season endurance levels. But nonetheless, the game's counted. We saw Shohei Ohtani go 2 for 5. Just
Yeah,
exciting stuff all around. Mike, in terms of the Padres, there have been a couple of developments over the last few days that have been concerning to say the least. A few weeks ago, you and I spoke about the Padres starting pitching depth and how
yeah,
really there's a lot of question marks. You go back now and look, typically teams use on average between 10 and 12 starting pitchers every season. You look last
yeah,
year, for example, the Dodgers used 17 different pitchers as starters. Some of those were openers and
yeah,
relievers, and 12 of them were actually starting pitchers. So you need to have that depth. The Padres are thin on that front. The most important thing for them was getting through camp healthy with all their stars intact. Already, that has not happened. First, Matt Waldron, who was competing for the fifth spot, suffered a strained oblique. He's likely to miss the start of the season. We'll see exactly what his timeline is, but again, it seems likely he'll miss the start of the season. On the plus side, Michael King was named the Padres opening day starter, which is always exciting. Got the nod over Yu Darvish and Dylan Cease. He had the lowest ERA in the team last year, certainly earned it. And then earlier today, Mike Schultz announced that Yu Darvish is suffering from a little bit of elbow inflammation. Originally,
yeah.
he was diagnosed with arm fatigue after his last start. Today, they said it was elbow inflammation, and there's a chance he'll miss the start of the season. This was a very thin Padres rotation to begin with, and already potentially they're down two of their potentially five opening day starters. Um, what was your overall reaction, especially to the news that Yu Darvish was suffering the elbow inflammation and what impact that could have on the club?
I mean, obviously, when you lose, a starting pitcher in Yu Darvish, he probably kind of sets the tone for the pitching staff in itself. And them losing him early in the season, hopefully it's not more than anything, but uh, I guess I can't put it any other way, but just like general general injury to his arm, with inflammation though, it could be something more serious. But obviously you have to get that out first, and then you just gotta reboot, your arm in a sense that you gotta basically kind of start over again and build back up to get to where you want to get to. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna probably take their time with him,
Yeah.
getting back to that as he's become a elder statesman, from a pitching standpoint. And so you just kind of like at this point now, you're probably trying to kind of piece together a rotation if you're very thin in a sense. So, it hopefully, he gets well, man, he gets back out there and get back with his team, and be able to compete. here, whether it's the end of this month or the start of May. But I'm pretty sure they'll take a slower pace with him to make sure that he's healthy before he returns.
Yeah, and what's concerning is this has been a somewhat recurring issue over the last few years. Yu Darvish is 38 years old now. In 2023, he was shut down at the end of the season with a stress reaction in his elbow. Last year, he was limited by a number of things. He had a personal issue that took him away from the team, obviously, but he also had some elbow inflammation last year, along with neck tightness and a groin strain. So, we're seeing that when he's healthy, he can still pitch at a very, very, very high level. We saw that last year, and particularly in the postseason as well against the Dodgers in the NLDS. Game five, he took the loss, but he pitched really well. He just didn't get any support from his offense. The issue is staying on the field. Again, he made only 16 starts last year, made 24 starts the year before. So he has had a hard time staying healthy through a full season. Again, last year there were some personal issues, but injuries were a part of it too. Again, he pitched half a season last year and 2/3 of the season the year before. As you get older, there are more challenges to the body. Again, he is 38 years old now. Realistically, in your experience, how much can you really count on and rely on older guys to stay healthy? Just because, especially for pitchers, it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of strain, and it does start to take a toll once you have a lot of mileage on your arm.
Definitely in the case of you because of the fact that he's a very hard thrower. So that kind of has to come into play. But at the same time, he always looks like he's in tremendous shape.
Oh
And
yeah,
but baseball always tests everything about you as you get older, and you just try to minimize as many things as you can that and that you're going to experience. The fact that he knows his body very well at this particular point, and his buildup may not be ready. His actual buildup may not be ready until like June. End of May, June, or whatever it may be. But whatever they can get out of a veteran in Yu Darvish is going to be beneficial to the team because the guy knows how to pitch. I mean, he throws like 7 pitches also too. So,
yeah,
so that stress is continued over the course of the season. But these guys understand now with new age technology, also with the ability to identify certain uh, old injuries and also identify, from analytics standpoint of what, usage of what you should be throwing at this particular time is also beneficial to guys. So, and you in this day and age, you have no choice but to stay in the best condition as you possibly can, and consider as you've been an older, statesman as a player, it's a very important, to understand what you can and can't do at this particular time for
yeah.
them.
And again, he's a tremendous pitcher in so many ways. It's really, really impressive how he's been able to stay effective into his late 30s. And we still have to find out more details, more information still to come about how long he'll be out, the severity of the injury. But anytime you hear the word elbow inflammation, it's
Yeah,
concerning. It's very, very
yeah,
concerning. So we need to
yeah,
see exactly what the extent of it is. Mike, you've been in this situation where, again, one of your guys that is one of your horses, one of the leaders of the team that you are going to be relying on. You hear, hey, he's got an injury. We're kind of waiting to see the severity of it. As a player in the clubhouse, are you guys holding your breath? I mean, what's the reaction like for the players in the clubhouse when they hear one of their guys is has an injury and it potentially they need to find out more.
yeah. The number one goal always in spring training is try to leave that place healthy with your frontline people, and
Yeah.
this definitely will kind of guys are itching to hear the information as to, you know, what the setback is for him. And hopefully that is short term more than long term. And,
Yeah.
as long as they understand that, they know that it's going to be, he's going to be a big help as the season starts to get very involved. And obviously right now that's not the case. And you got to find somebody else to pick up those innings. And hopefully you can find someone that can go out and compete and give your team a chance to win. So and I'm pretty sure you will be around, and I'm pretty sure he's kind of just as down as everybody else because no one wants to be hurt going into the start of the season. But the season is so long, you
Yeah.
know, your health is more important than trying to just be there for the beginning of it.
Absolutely. And again, we'll find out exactly what the extent of his injury is, how long he'll be out, and what happens. But you make a good point about other guys now having to step up and giving the
Yeah,
team quality innings. And this is something that has been, a real concern for the Padres. We talked about all throughout the offseason. Then they signed Nick Pivetta, they signed Kyle Hart. So they lengthened their rotation depth a little bit, but by no means was this a very deep rotation, even with those additions. There were questions at the back end. Right now, it appears, again, we'll see exactly what the details are for Yu Darvish's injury as well as Matt Waldron's injury. But right now, going into the season, assuming everyone stays healthy over the next week and 9 days until opening day, you have Michael
yeah,
King, who'll be the opening day starter. You have Dylan Cease, one of the best pitchers in the National League, who'll be behind him. You'll have Nick Pivetta. Those three will be in your rotation. Looking at the other candidates, again, Matt Waldron initially was in competition for a back end spot. The knuckleballer had a really good
yeah,
first half last year, really struggled second half. Spring training was very uneven. Now you're looking at Kyle Hart, who was signed out of Korea. He's looked good in limited spurts in camp. It's safe to say he'll be in the rotation now. And then that fifth spot, you're looking at guys like Randy Vasquez. You're looking at guys like Stephen Kolek, who's a Rule 5 pick, who's a reliever. Now they're trying to stretch him out. It starts to get dicey pretty early on. You're just hoping these guys can give you, 5 decent innings without getting bombed and give your team a chance to win. When you look at some of, the Padres rotation options at the back end right now, it doesn't make you nervous. Is it
Hmm.
more just like, all right, time to step up? I mean, what do you see? And when you're talking about guys who are unproven and I mean, just objectively are question marks as starters in the major leagues?
Yeah. I mean, they're unproven because they definitely don't have a track record. But you gotta only way you can find out to be proven is to get a chance to participate in the games. And I'm sure they may scour the waiver wire and see what happens here. You still got about 7 days left in the spring training. The rotation is pretty much kind of set up. Obviously you still have a big three that can go out and get the job done. But considering the younger guys that they're going to get opportunity. I mean, this is what it's all about: getting an opportunity to see if you can perform and see if you can also be a contributor to the team. So they're definitely going to get the opportunity now in these younger guys, and when they do get the chance, their first month, they always are trying to find a rhythm, trying to get the team in a space. And these guys are going to be able to put themselves in that position to, see if they can come go out and compete and help the team win ball games.
Yeah, we saw Randy Vasquez, who was part of the Juan Soto trade package last year, come over, and he really struggled in the first half. He was better from really the last 3 months or so, from the end of June to the end of September. His ERA was in the low fours. He had 2 starts that were really ugly and kind of blew up on him, but beyond that, he had a lot of starts of, hey, here's 5 innings, 2 runs, 5 innings, 1 run, 6 innings, 1 run, 6 innings, 2 runs. So we did see him toward the end of last year start to give the Padres some decently consistent outings. Again, there were 2 outings, one against the Orioles that went really poorly, and one against the Rays. But for the most part, he was okay. Stephen Kolek was a Rule 5 pick from the Mariners. Made his debut as a reliever last year. Did struggle. Again, there's no real sugarcoating it. ERA over 5 and 42 appearances, but again, the Padres have talked about stretching him out. I think realistically, you talk about these guys needing to prove themselves. What for you? So take me through the player's perspective. When look, that there's some guys that are filling in. These are guys that are going to be there just temporarily. Band-aids trying to hold it together. What do you want to see out of those guys? Is it just, hey, keep us in the ball game? I mean, what your expectations for Randy Vasquez as a player when you're going out there are going to be very different than when Dylan Cease or Michael King is on the mound.
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone expects to go out and compete and to do well.
Yeah.
Uh, you're gonna have growing pains. it's unfortunate when you're in a position that you know that you have a playoff caliber baseball team. Those growing pains can jump on you kind of early.
Yeah.
But hopefully the guys go out and compete and and give their team the best opportunity to win. Their first month anyway, guys are still building up, the guys are still building. So it's going to be important, when you're trying to cover innings for a guy like Yu Darvish and the opportunity for the younger guys is going to be there for them to do it. And on the back end, they just when you're in the back end of the rotation, they're just asking you to give the guys a chance, opportunity to go out and compete and win on a daily basis. But understandably, that there's a chance that you're going to have some growing pains, considering when you have young starting pitchers that are in the big leagues. Otherwise, they will already be in the rotation and they will probably be frontline starters.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. And again, I think for the Padres, again, what's now most important is getting through the next 9 days with everyone else healthy because they're already kind of on thin ice when you look at their rotation options going in. These were the guys. And again, we talked about you kind of had seven that you were like, okay, these are the guys you feel like will be in the mix. Well, you're down two. So that seven is now down to five. These are your five.
Yeah.
After this, it gets real dicey, real
Mhm.
fast. Um, we've talked a lot about this Padres team, and look, every team wants to stay healthy, needs to stay healthy. If they stay healthy, their outcome is going to be very different than if they don't stay healthy through the course of the season. We know that. But for some teams, there's just less reinforcements available than others. And the Padres are one of those teams that does not have the reinforcements that the Dodgers do, that the Diamondbacks do, just to speak of two teams in the NL West. I mean, do you, from the outside looking in,
Yeah.
does this change your outlook for the Padres season? Because we've talked about this as a team. If everyone stays healthy, has a chance to be a playoff team. But already
Yeah.
we're seeing not everyone's staying healthy in a very key spot, which is the rotation. Where look, this is a Padres team that has had this issue before, where you have, no starting or very little starting pitching depth, and it ultimately, sinks the season.
Yeah, Kyle, but you gotta look at it like this. Teams all are going through situations where maybe another team may have a starter that's going down to AAA,
Yeah.
um, that could possibly be on a starting rotation of a team. You may try to make a trade with them, but you don't want to try to do too much this early in the season, but give the guys who you've been had there an opportunity to go out and try to, figure it out, be successful, but understanding, we're in a situation that we are a playoff caliber team. So, you got to take care of those guys in a sense to not put them under the gun to where they cannot go out and perform. So you don't want to have that pressure on them. You want them to have that same, feeling going out that, hey, I'm getting a chance to compete. Look, we're behind you. We understand that, you're getting your opportunity, but we need for you to try to, go out and compete and put this together. And you have to go with it like that when, especially when you're dealing with younger starters considering now. But in today's game, they're always pushing guys, so the opportunity for some guys, it probably kind of is a detriment to the organization because you're having to push these guys up now. And so it trickles down to AAA, it trickles down to AA. And you don't want guys that are, at least these guys have experienced big league baseball some. So
Yeah.
they kind of know what to expect, and they understand what it is for them that they need to do.
And I think it's important, you mentioned again, guys just getting opportunities. This time a year ago, Michael King was a question mark. He had never made more than 9 starts in a season, had done really well in relief for the Yankees, but no one knew how he would hold up over a full season. He ends up having one of the best seasons of any pitcher in the National League, finishes top 10 in Cy Young Award voting as the Padres' game one starter in the postseason against the Dodgers and or excuse me, against the Braves. And now a year later, he's their opening day starter. So it's a fair point too. I think a lot of times there's a lot of nerves when the proven commodity goes down, understandably. But again, anytime a pitcher who has talent gets an opportunity, there's always a chance they take advantage of it. I think a lot of times baseball fans can be very pessimistic, see worst case scenario. Fans can get very, very upset very, very easily. But I think it's important to
Yeah,
just, again, go back. And at this point a year ago, Michael King was unproven, and now he's the
yeah.
Padres opening day starter. So again, it's now about these guys are going to get their shot, and now it's just about stepping up.
Oh, definitely. Look, the hardest thing for people to understand is baseball is so difficult, but the challenge is there for these professional athletes that understand that the challenge of what they're supposed to do as a player. The fans just have to understand that, hey, when you got a young guy here, it's probably better to be as supportive as you can to him, considering the team that you have that you expect to be a playoff caliber team. You want these guys to perform well or be the best they possibly can be, so they can get an opportunity to kind of get their feet wet or gel with the team. But as you spoke earlier, the guys that are in the replacement process right now already have had some experience in the big leagues. Hopefully they can, um, hopefully they can kind of like learn their strengths and weaknesses and their game per se, what they're capable of doing. And you put them out there, man, and you don't gotta push it right now because once again, everyone is still kind of building themselves up. But also understand you got a pretty good team behind you from a offensive and defensive aspect. So hopefully it would be a great experience for these young guys to have the opportunity to step up. And so you never know what you're going to get. You don't know, you have no idea, and you just hopefully that you get the best and the team gets off to a good start and go from there. I mean, that's really all you can ask for at this particular time.
Yeah, I think right now, again, if I were to handicap it, and we still have to see how the rest of camp plays out, I would envision again, you're going to have King, Cease, Pivetta. I expect Kyle Hart and Randy Vasquez to round out the rotation just because those are the guys, Kyle Hart again won the equivalent of the Cy Young Award in Korea last year. He's looked good in limited stints here in camp. Randy Vasquez, again, pitched well enough as a starter down the stretch last year in the second half where again, you can see a scenario where, yeah, you have him fill in. I will say it is notable, and this is where you talk about guys kind of having to build up. They're going to get thrown in the fire. The Padres open the season. It's not an easy schedule. Your first three series right out the chute, it's the Braves, it's the Guardians, and Cubs.
Yeah.
And it's 9 games in 10 days. It's not like, some teams, the way their schedule works out, they have a few early off days. I mean, right out the chute, you got 3 really good teams who should be in playoff contention. I mean, after that, you go up to Oakland, which, the A's are kind of a sleeper this year. And also they'll be pitching in a AAA ballpark in Sacramento, which can play small. The
Yeah.
Rockies is an easy series, but it's Cubs, Astros, Tigers were a playoff team last year. Rays are always competitive. This isn't like the Padres are opening up with a soft schedule. It's not like they're opening the season with, the Rockies and then, an interleague series against the White Sox and then the Marlins. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
right out the gate, these guys are gonna get thrown into the fire.
Yeah, that that's always tough when you got to get right out to it and play some of your best baseball at the beginning of the season. Otherwise, it could get ugly quick. But let me tell you, once I was on a team in 2005 with the New York Mets, we started out like 0-6 before we even went home and opened up. Had our opener.
Yeah.
So and we had to win in Atlanta to get just to to get one win before we went back home. And obviously we have more of a veteran laced pitching staff, but at the same time, eh, look, baseball is not gonna be done in April. I mean, you're pretty much, you just have to make sure you understand that you do have the veterans on the team. You're from the manager all the way down to your third baseman, your shortstop, your second, your right fielder, and you have these veteran guys that understand that it's going to be a grind. Knowing that the Braves are good, it's going to be a grind against those guys. But hey, it's the same. Just as the Padres are going into this season facing those guys, the other teams are dealing with the same thing at the beginning of the season. So you just don't know what you're going to get at the beginning of the season, but you hopefully that you're able to get off to a good start against some of these teams, maybe sneak a win or two against some of the teams that are supposed to be really good, and see what happens. I did not know that you just said that they're going to play 9 out of their first 10 games and that's going to be hard on the manager on Schulte trying to manage his bullpen and his starters as they continue to build up, going into that. And hopefully you don't want anything to blow up in your face, leading up into those games, especially 9 out of the first 10 of them against some real good caliber teams.
Yeah, again, nine games in 10 days against, all teams of playoff, aspirations. And then from Chicago, they go straight to Oakland. So, I mean, they're playing 13 games in the first 14 days of the season, not, the first nine of whom are going to be against, teams with real playoff aspirations. And some people think the A's as well. And there's some cross country travel in there going from San Diego to Chicago. I mean, it's not easy. Again, they're going to be throwing the fire right away. There's not going to be too many
Yeah.
off days. Skip the fifth starter. I mean, they need these guys to step up right away.
Oh, definitely. When you say 9 out of 10, and it's gonna be you going right in the fire right away. So,
Yeah.
hopefully the guys understand that. I'm pretty sure that will be mentioned in their meeting before the season starts. And guys already know this, that hey, look, we got to be ready to play some really good baseball here right at the beginning of the season, and it probably doesn't stop at that particular point. Once you get going, it's every day, man. So you're getting prepared to try to win as many games as you can, and hopefully build up pitchers and get your bullpen straight, where guys are able to get in a rhythm so they can go out and do their thing that they've been doing for as long as you can remember.
Mike, I want to ask you this because we see so often a new coach comes in, the team's production, goes up or goes down. And a lot of times, the blame or credit is assigned to this new coach. Ruben Niebla is widely regarded as one of the best pitching coaches in the game, if not the best pitching coach, and deservedly so. From your experience, both in terms of what you dealt with different hitting coaches, on top of how you saw different pitching coaches and the effect they'd have on different staffs, in your opinion, how much of an effect does a good coach have? Not manager, but a coach, a good pitching coach, a good hitting coach. How big of an impact and an influence can that make on a guy?
A very big, the comfort level and understanding the guys that you have, what makes them click, what makes them spiral sometimes. So just understanding those things, and like simple little cues to keep guys in line, when it may be going not as best as they think it should be going. But also, like everyone has the analytic departments now. As you brought up Ruben's name, he is well in touch with some of the guys who are in his analytics, that probably understand the player better than he's had him. He's just able to see him over these few starts that they've had. But finding out what makes a player click, you got to understand what makes him, mentally go, and you go from there and try to keep him as calm as you can, but understanding that this is the big leagues, and it's a job to be done, and that's about being productive, and you got to try to do that in the best of your ability, considering the situation that the team has been put in with one of their frontline starters being hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we'll see what the updates are with Yu Darvish, his elbow inflammation, as well as Matt Waldron with his oblique strain, and what their timelines are, and what their potential return status is. Mike, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a great time as always. We appreciate all your insight and expertise.
Oh, always, Kyle. Looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to continuing. See how we can make this thing go this year.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun season ahead. Once again, this has been another episode of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. Go ahead and give us a review, like, subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. We would love to hear from you. For Mike Cameron, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thanks for watching and listening. See you later this week.